Pictured here is what comes in your Kwik Performance AC kit. The plates, spacers, fasteners, pulleys, and tensioner required to do the build are included. The first step is to do some pre-assembly. We're going to insert the 140mm bolts into the holes shown, flip over the plate, install the 1/2-inch spacer, the water pump brace, the medium spacer, followed by the longest tube. Install the back plate as shown, and then install the two 1 9/16 tubes to complete the pre-assembly. We are going to install the bracket into the two head holes as shown. We're going to only tighten those to finger tight. The water pump brace goes to the upper water pump boss. This kit works on both 2010 and later Camaros and all truck engines, so it will be important to determine which water pump you have for this next step. For a truck water pump, install the third 1 9/16 inch tube with a 60mm bolt and tighten to finger tight. For installation on a 2010 and later Camaro, no tube is used, but we do use the 3/8 washer and a 20mm bolt. Tighten to finger tight. Using the 35mm bolts, we're going to attach the AC compressor. Tighten the nuts on the back just to finger tight, as with the other steps. The rear of the compressor will be connected to the rear plate via a 3/4 inch small tube and a 55mm bolt. Once again, tighten the nut only to finger tight. We will now begin the torque process by lifting up on the compressor so that it takes the slack out of all the bolt holes in the same direction. We will tighten the two head bolts first. They are going to be tightened to 37 foot-pounds. Then we will follow it up by tightening the water pump brace bolt to 37 foot-pounds as well. Next in the torque sequence are the two front bolts on the AC compressor. They will also be torqued to 37 foot-pounds. It's important to do the front of the compressor first so that it squares the compressor to the bracket. Then follow up with 37 foot-pounds on the rear bolt and nut. Next, we're going to install the tensioner with the 75mm bolt. Screw on the nut, and go ahead and torque that to 37 foot-pounds. Now we're going to install the upper idler with a 12mm by 55 bolt, a machined idler, and the idler pulley. And go ahead and torque this setup here to 50 foot-pounds. A note here is that the belt is going to be installed on the rear 6 grooves of the 7-groove compressor. To determine what belt we need to use, we're going to look at the alternator power steering side, whether you have a factory GM bracket, a Kwik Performance alt power steering bracket, or a Kwik Performance alternator only bracket. There are 3 different pulleys that typically go on a Kwik Performance bracket. The 6 3/4 is from a Corvette power steering pump. The 6-inch is from a 98-02 Camaro power steering pump, and the 5.5-inch is what comes with the Kwik Performance power steering pump. One note on the 98-02 6-inch pulley, the offset is off by about 1/16 of an inch, so to get proper alignment you will need to pull the pulley off of the shaft about that 1/16 of an inch. Another thing that will affect belt length is which alternator you're using. You will need to measure to see if it is the high output or the standard output. The high output will measure at roughly 2 1/4 inches, and the standard output will be just under 1 3/4 inches. If you have a standard output alternator, it will shorten the belt length by just over an inch. After you've installed the belt and ran the motor, pay attention to where the belt is running on the tensioner pulley. If it looks like it's running off of the front or really close to it, we have included a shim that can go between the front plate and the tensioner to push out the tensioner slightly to get the belt running closer to the center of the pulley. After the belt's installed, it's a good idea to take a look at the tensioner marks on the bottom of the tensioner housing. There are 3 marks on the housing itself and an indicator on the arm. It's best to have it running in the center indicator, but be mindful that after the engine has ran for a while, the belt will take a set and it will loosen.